Teddy Knappen, and welcome to Gun Lawyer. Again, my father is allowed to have a vacation, and don't worry, he will be back. Instead, I am going to be interviewing a very interesting individual who will provide, I think, a very important take that is being overlooked when it comes to firearms and when it comes to the medical industry. So I'm looking to my guest here, Dr. John Adine, and I believe it was Adine rhymes with mean, if I'm correct.
Oh, that's right. Absolutely.
Oh, good. So, if you would like to introduce yourself so that everyone can understand and like what organization you have been a part of as
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So my name is Johnny Dean. I am a pediatric orthopedic surgeon, thus being mean to kids is what I do for a living. Ha, ha, ha. It's pretty funny. I am the membership director for Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership, which is a Second Amendment Foundation organization. And that was founded first in about 1994 by Tim Wheeler, who is an ear, nose, and throat surgeon in California. And he realized that there was a lot of bias in the medical literature and also a lot of the academia locally in California. And he was one of the guys that was actually instrumental in getting the Dickey Amendment passed, which basically forbade the CDC from doing biased advocacy research against the Second Amendment. And I've been with DRGO for about 12 years now. So DRGO is an interesting organization because it's, doctors and other healthcare professionals. And we even have, believe it or not, a couple lawyers as part of DRGO.
What? Get them out of there.
Yeah, I know. But we've done some amicus briefs for some of the, for pertinent cases that has some stuff to do with medical stuff. Just recently, the Ear, Nose, and Throat Society, I can't remember the actual name of it, but they actually came out with a position statement supporting suppressors. And one of our members, Hayes Wanamaker, who's also in the leadership of DRGO, actually spoke at Gun Rights Policy Conference 2 weekends ago about this, and he gave the kind of the scientific stuff. And there is a paper at our website, which is drgo.us, which goes over a lot of that same information. And it's really good intellectual ammunition, especially if you're in a state where they've outlawed suppressors and you're trying to get that undone. Because, based on what happened with the big, beautiful bill, that the suppressor tax is going away. And so people are going to be buying suppressors left and right. But if you're in a state that doesn't allow you to have a suppressor, then you can use this to try to lobby. You can use it as good information.
I'm incredibly thankful for that because I find that a lot of people, if we arm them with a lot of this information, they can persuade a lot of people. Because look, if you talk to the average person, they think suppressor like, what, you want one of that? And you want like random shootings like in John Wick? No, it's actually has a very important value because we don't need to all be going deaf. Thank you.
What was that?
Exactly.
I mean, you have a bunch of shooters that are talking to each other. They're like half of the stuff you can't hear, right? Because they can't hear what the other guy's saying because they have hearing loss. It's crazy. You say, what did you just say? Huh?
Sorry, I got range ears.
Yeah, I tell you, I've lost hearing. All you have to do is be, laying prone and with a rifle, and you bump your earmuffs, and all of a sudden you lose your seal, and next thing you know, your ear's ringing, and that ringing are your little hair cells in your cochlea dying. I want you to know that. That's what that is. And one exposure to, I think it's 120 decibels or something like that can cause permanent hearing loss. All that stuff is in our paper, and it's worth having. There's like a little synopsis, but then there's the whole paper, and you can print them out. There's great pictures. It has pictures of the cochlea, and and it gives you a fact. I can pull this up right now. I'm not sitting here in front of my computer, but here it is, and it's written by First of all, it's written by one, two, three, four ear, nose, and throat surgeons, and they have like photomicrographs of the inner ear, and they have the instant damage is at 140 decibels, by the way, and it's all on here, and it tells you like a lawnmower is 90 decibels and a jackhammer is 110 decibels, and so a lawnmower for 8 hours can give you damage. A jackhammer for 15 minutes can give you damage, and then anything over 140 decibels gives you instant damage, like a firecracker, a pistol, or a rifle. But it's very interesting, and there's a lot of good information. And then there's also if you go looking for it, the ear, nose, and throat people have their paper too. And I think Hayes Wanamaker was one of the authors on that paper. So. Or at least on that position statement.
Honestly, I feel that this is going to be very important, as I think it's NRA or Go or Pro Gun. They just submitted their challenges to the NFA. The fact that they are removing the tax to suppressor,
right.
So
It
I
makes
wouldn't be
perfect
surprised.
sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, you might get a call or two saying, "Hey, we want some information because we're going to arm this up." Like, but that is going to be very helpful and benefit, and because it's always a fight for freedom.
Right.
Just kind of going into it now. This is something happens with a good chunk of us every time I go into the doctor's office. There's two things that always happens. One, he always calls me fat. Number two, he always asks if I possess firearms. So what is up with that?
Well, a lot of the major organizations, the AMA and the American Academy of Pediatrics, they're all influenced by the left. They're northeastern, academia, and so their whole goal is to disarm you so that they can do their leftist stuff to you. And that's why we, as gun owners, want to keep our guns so that we can keep them from doing the stuff they want to do to us, because we'll be armed and they won't be able to do anything to us. So here's the thing. First of all, doctors don't receive any training in firearms safety, firearms mechanics, how guns work. They're completely unqualified. And remember, gun ownership is a civil right. And as a consumer, you have a lot of power in the doctor-patient relationship, so don't be afraid to use it. First of all, you can refuse to answer their question. In fact, I think, Tom Gresham used to say, basically, it's not a sin to lie to somebody that has no business knowing the answer. And this is one of the things, now I'm not necessarily telling you to lie to your doctor about everything else, but frankly, for this is one of those things that they have no business even asking you or knowing. If your healthcare plan, if this is part of their questionnaire thing, you can complain to them about that. And then also, if they persist in asking intrusive questions about this, despite you saying, I don't want to talk about this, this is not why we're here. There's a term for that. It's called an ethical boundary violation. And basically what that is that the physician is pushing an agenda that doesn't necessarily benefit the patient. They're doing a political thing that's not necessarily in your long-term benefit, and that's an ethical boundary violation. And the probably the best example of an ethical boundary violation is having sex with your patient. That's how bad this is. And you are allowed to complain to your professional board, the state medical board. And it's a big deal when that happens. It requires the doctor to jump through a whole lot of hoops. And frankly, the process is the punishment. And it's not much of a fun thing to go through, having had complaints put against me in the past. It's no good.
Honestly, I'll save that the next time they ask me my pronouns.
Exactly. Now, here's another thing. This is my favorite thing to say. And by the way, a lot of this is at drgo.us. It's just the question, the medical question. This is my favorite one, though. Ask the doctor. So, doctor, Does your insurance company know that you're practicing outside of your expertise in medical practice? And if I'm harmed by the advice that you give me, will your malpractice insurer cover you to my benefit, even despite the fact that you are practicing outside of the scope of practice that you're credentialed in? And that usually will shut them up faster than anything else because they realize, oh my goodness, I've stepped on it. I'm out of bounds basically at that point. Because, and the other thing you can ask them is, what organization certifies you to give firearms advice? And if it's the AMA, it's like, well, I'd like to see that AMA course on firearm safety because it doesn't exist. It's even though I think, wasn't it, one of the Bloomberg groups is actually doing a firearm safety thing.
Correct. Every town, they are doing that. Every town is putting out a certification course.
Yeah,
and
I'd love to see
oh my
what's in
God.
that thing.
Well, Bearing Arms, they did a whole article on it. I wish I could pull it up for you, but what they did, they had a guy who does the certifications, knows what it was, and it was this complete anti-gun bias all up and down, like trying to, it was just galore. And it was like, oh my God, it's like having a vegan teach you how to do butchering. Like, it was so disgusting.
Yeah, no, and it doesn't surprise me because their intent is not gun safety; it's gun confiscation. You know it, I know it, your dad knows it.
Of course.
I mean, as you like to say, registration and then confiscation and then extermination. That's what they're after.
The step you missed, and this is what we always need to remember: it always begins with legislation. So everyone, get out and vote.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Like your life depended on it. So
because it does.
Yeah, and on going off of that, and kind of one of the other topics, and this has been coming up a lot. I don't know if you're too familiar in New Jersey, what's been going on with mental health commitments, of what they've kind of abused that, where they recently made a change under the carry killer law where now voluntaries are considered involuntaries. So instead of just getting a doctor's letter saying you're fine for a voluntary stay, you need a full expungement. That is a whole legal procedure that takes mass amounts of time, money, and effort to get cleared, which, by the way, sometimes the records don't even exist because they would destroy them after a certain amount of years. And in some ways, they can construe like rehab. So what is your view on that when it comes to the mental health commitments for where they've been making people the equivalent of convicted felons?
Well, I mean, first of all, there are people that have mental illnesses that they probably shouldn't own guns.
Of course.
And we have to differentiate those people with like chronic schizophrenia where they have impaired reality testing versus somebody who they just went through a divorce.
I was
feeling a little down, and situational, normal, reactive times of depression, and that's a different area. And what they're trying to do is conflate that with somebody who's basically a psycho killer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. My favorite one, I always highlight this to people, guys like in his 70s, 80s, and is denied because he was an unruly child when he was 7. That screws him out of his gun rights because it was an involuntary commitment when he was 7 for a day. Like, that's disgusting.
Yeah, no, it's in fact, that in and of itself shows you the extent that they'll go to try to disarm people. And the whole thing is a travesty. And frankly, I mean, lawyers like you guys ought to be going after that kind of stuff because it doesn't give anybody due process. You have no ability to, to fight it. Basically, if they make a law that says, 50 years ago, you had ADHD and you went a little crazy and ended up in the hospital, or you took some pills and you were hallucinating or something like that and you ended up in the hospital. That's not necessarily something that you should lose your rights over.
Yeah, and quite frankly, just the level of what it takes to even get the records cleared. The judges have such broad discretion that, I mean, they can just say, oh, yeah, everything's here. You've met the criteria. Doctor says you're fine, but I'm still going to deny you because of character, temperament, and whatever weasel clause they use.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
under Bruin, that's not allowed, is it? I mean, that's the whole thing. It has to
So
be
the
a distinct set of criteria, not.
the issue is when it comes to mental health expungements, the three pillars they have that under the law for mental health expungements is you have the medical history, then you have criminal history, and then community ties and relations, which that's the catch-all, which that was how they were going about denying people. So now they have to go through this massive character factor issues that have to go through that. And it's just, it's a laundry list of issues that come into play for people. So
Yeah.
it's something that definitely it's quite disgusting, and luckily the firm law firm handles that pretty well. But it's always such a fight for these people because they destroy they just destroy people's lives. New Jersey.
No, they do, and it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible, and frankly, it's. I mean, fortunately, we have good people on the medical side too. You and I both know a lot of those people.
Yeah.
And at least, but it costs money, and it costs time, and it costs mental anguish. This whole they're putting you through again. The process is the punishment, and they're trying to discourage people from owning firearms. It's all about disarming people. Period.
So on that note, I will just, I think as a way to cheer your mode, I want to talk about our good buddies at We Shoot. As our people may know, our good friends at We Shoot offer classes on getting your C-Care certification so you can get your New Jersey permit to carry. We Shoot is arranged in Lakewood, New Jersey. They have a fantastic facility with great training and great pro shop. They have all kinds of deals and specials. We love We Shoot. It's where I and my father go and shoot, and we got our certifications. If you go there and mention Gun Lawyer, you'll be treated like a king. If not, you'll still be treated like a king because they are the best. WeShootUSA.com is their website. Beautiful photos, and don't miss the We Shoot girls as they're posing with gorgeous guns. And there are guns that they have that you can buy, and they have great deals, great sales. They cannot only sell you the guns, but also they can teach you how to effectively use them as well. Check out WeShootUSA.com. We Shoot is conveniently located in Lakewood, New Jersey, right off the Parkway. You'll be glad you did it. And let me also mention our good friends at the Association New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Club. And New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Club just had a case in the federal court where the appellate court gave a mixed win at the moment, but of course the fight never ends. It was, we'll call it a partial victory, where regarding sensitive places in the carry killer bill, essentially what the status quo is at the moment has been maintained, in which you can still carry in your vehicle. With the carjacker protection law that was still enjoined, you can carry concealed loaded on your person with a New Jersey carry permit in your vehicle. That is still enjoined, and you can do that because, remember, the carry killer bill tried to prevent it. You can still go on private property as long as it's open to the public and not otherwise a sensitive place. We lost a little bit in terms of filming locations, in terms of movie filming, and in terms of transporting on public transportation. You're going to have the gun case unloaded, etc. if you're going to be riding a bus or train. However, interesting, they found that the 200 fee is now the 50 fee portion that goes to the state was unlawful. It's unlawful because it went to the VCCB, which is the Victims Crime Compensation Board. Under case law, you cannot have a fee for the license not actually go to regulatory activity. That is the purpose of the fee. So that has been knocked out. So now you only have to pay the 150. And if you live in any town that are refunding, such as Englishtown, which one of the first to start it, they'll refund you their 150. So you can actually get your carry permit in New Jersey for free. So the fight continues. This is just one step as we go along, challenging the Second Amendment oppressionist legislation as they've laid it upon us. and the association is in the forefront fighting for your rights. Make sure you're a member of the anjrpc.org. That's anjrpc.org. And before we finish off the ad, let me shamelessly plug my father's book, The New Jersey Gun Law, the Bible of New Jersey Gun Law. You can get your copy of New Jersey Gun Law at evannappen.com. You'll be glad you did it because it helps you keep yourself out of the New Jersey gun owner gulag. It helps you navigate the very complex course that has been laid out by the gun rights oppressionists who try to rip up and turn you into a criminal, stop you from being a defender instead of a victim. You need to be a defender instead of a victim, especially since the police have no duty to protect you, as you know. So get the book. You're glad you did it. It's evannappen.com. The big orange book, order today, and when you get it, you scan the front cover and make sure you get in the private subscriber base. You'll be able to immediately access the archives, and you'll get the up-to-date, including be able to download the 2025 comprehensive update that includes new standalone chapter on sensitive places where you can and cannot carry. So check it out today. So, Dr. Adine, one of the other big things that does come up a lot, and this is just something I see the left is constantly making this argument where they've tried and tried to make firearms a health issue. They always try to conflate that. And I don't know if there was anything you can highlight to that, like where did that kind of start, or any spot to where you can kind of give your opinion on that issue?
Well, it goes back probably 20 to 30 years. They've been trying to push the public health issue side of this thing. And frankly, doctors have no control over the public health issue, over the quote unquote gun violence issue. It's not a public health issue, it's a criminology issue. You have to, when you look at Dr. John Lott's research, it's the same people over and over again in a very small area that are the recurrent perpetrators of violent acts and end up causing the quote unquote gun violence. So it's really not a public health. It's not like it's a disease that you can stop. I mean, if you can intervene at the gang level and get the kids not to go into the gangs, that might be some kind of a public health thing that you can do. But that's about as close as you're going to get to preventing this. Because this is really a gang violence problem. It's a criminal violence problem, but it's not a public health problem. The beauty is that trauma medicine has evolved so well that we're still able to save a lot of people when they get shot. If you can make it to the hospital alive, you're probably going to survive. The trauma centers and the trauma systems are set up to help people survive. So you got these gangbangers, if you look at them, they've been shot 6 times, 10 times. They end up getting shot, they go to the hospital, they get patched up, they go back out, they get into another gunfight, they get shot again. And so these guys aren't afraid of you or me with a gun. I can tell you that right now, because they've been shot already. Most of them have been, and they've survived it. And so don't be surprised if, one of these guys, if you pull a gun on him, he laughs at you. Unless you're serious and he realizes that you're gonna shoot him, and you're gonna shoot him down to the ground, he may not be afraid of you. So it's really not a public health thing. They like to call it a public health issue, but medicine has no tools to stop criminal activity, and that's really the bottom line.
Honestly, I was thinking of I remember there was some crime story where they were interviewing a former gang member, and he covered his face, but he took off his shirt and he showed he got shotgunned point blank to the chest, and he lived. And it wasn't even bird; it was buckshot. So I'm like, how? So, but yeah, it's just some people. It's amazing.
He's lucky they just didn't hit. They didn't hit something big enough to cause him to bleed out before he made it to the hospital. Probably took out part of his lung and probably took out branches of the pulmonary artery and vein, but it might have tamponaded off or whatever, or somebody might have stuffed something in there to keep him from bleeding to death. But I mean, the ability of the trauma surgeons to save people's lives is pretty amazing.
Oh yeah.
Um, I mean, I was a military surgeon back in the the 1980s and early mid 80s to mid 90s, and
Sawbones were you?
oh yeah, I mean, I am a sawbones. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. That's what I do. I saw bones and correct them, straighten them out, put screws and plates in them, and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is that, especially like since the global war on terror, trauma medicine has evolved and evolved. We're using tourniquets now. We have quick clot. I mean, I carry a tourniquet and quick clot in my pocket wherever I go. I have it with me 24/7 because those are the most effective things in my view. You can kind of jury rig a chest seal out of the packet for that true the clot gauze, or with some duct tape or whatever. But the bottom line is stopping the bleeding is probably the most important thing for people to survive penetrating trauma.
Is there a
Unless
tourniquet you would recommend for someone to carry?
I use the soft T wide, but the cat tourniquet is also good. Both of them are they're kind of the tourniquets of choice put out by the military trauma people. I mean, there are other tourniquets out there too, but those are the recommended ones by the Committee on Trauma.
Honestly, that's pretty good advice. I might actually start doing that.
Yeah, I keep it. I wear scrubs all the time, and I have pockets, thigh pockets in my scrubs. They're like cargo pockets. So I'll throw a tourniquet on one side and two things of quick clot gauze on the other, and just carry that. It's easy to do. You don't even know it's there.
Oh, I'll definitely consider that. So I know you touched on, and what is your opinion of the AMA and their position in firearms? I think you touched on it, but I think let's paint it very clear as to kind of the enemies of our rights.
Can I say they're a bunch of commies?
You may do so. I fully believe it.
Yeah, and they want to take over. They want to take over medicine first of all, and here's something that let's look at what happened during the COVID crisis. The medical community sold us all out for money. I'm on something called I was on the professional staff committee. They just dissolved it about a month ago. But during COVID, I kept asking the powers that be. I said, why are we not doing any studies on ivermectin or what's the other stuff? I can't remember. Anyway, hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine. Why aren't we doing any studies on that? Why aren't we treating people early when they show up with a positive COVID test? Why aren't we giving them something to treat them? Why are we waiting till they're on death's door and then we put them in the hospital? Oh yeah, and we get $40,000 a day from the federal government to treat each one of those patients in the hospital, but we get Zippo when we treat them, with medication. And then the other thing is, in order to get approval for an emergency use of a vaccine, there has to be no other medical treatment available. So this is all about the billions of dollars that were available through the government to big pharma, which was then also through the government passing down money, to the hospitals. And so we were sold out by medicine. And I'm a doctor, and I could see it. You follow the money. I've been talking about this for 5 years now. I mean, since probably 2020, for 5 years, I've been talking about the fact that you have to follow the money to find out what's going on. And we've been sold out by the big pharma. We've been sold out by the American Medical Association. We've been sold out by the Centers for Disease Control. And we've been sold out by our government. And this whole thing is, this is the public health issue, not guns. Okay, the AMA is a left-wing organization, and they're crooked as you know what, and I don't trust anything they say. And I've been dealing with, my dad's 97. right now. He broke his hip 6 months ago. We're dealing with, you know, we're dealing with all the health issues, and they can't get anything done, and the whole system's corrupt.
I completely understand that. We've had a lot of family where it's always now you got to know somebody, but it's just the games they play and the hoops they make you jump through to the point. I always love at the end of every email you get from the hospital, it's from the World Health Organization. I'm like, oh, that real helps.
Yeah, it's not healthy at all, is it?
Nah, no, yeah. But
Yeah.
on the one of the last questions, but you've been very informative on all this, and I think our listeners will appreciate someone of your position and knowledge putting that out for people because they need to arm themselves and hear the truth. Regarding what is your view on the health benefits of children and guns together, getting the early experience of firearms? I don't know if you had anything on that.
Well, kids and firearms. Under good supervision, children can learn anything, right? And we've all seen organizations where children are taught how to use a .22 pistol to do target shooting, or shooting using a shotgun for target shooting, or whatever. Those kids step up and they mature. And so, as far as I'm concerned, supervised firearms training in children is actually a great thing, because it allows. I mean, I live in Texas. Okay, we got ranches all over the place. Kids are hunting from the they're age 10 and beyond. They go out in the woods with their .22 rifle and shoot squirrels and whatever. Do I see kids getting shot? Yeah, I see kids shooting themselves every once in a while. And the first thing I ask them is, so what are the rules of gun safety? And, most of them don't know that answer. But you can ask some of the other kids, some of the kids, they're competitive shotgunners. That's one of the biggest sports in the country. Did you know that? With shotgun sports? Yeah, the high school championships in the Midwest are huge. You don't hear about it in New Jersey, but in other places in the country, there's a lot. It's bigger than football in some places, and so
wow.
Yes. But if you look up shotgun, sports and kids, skeet shooting and trap shooting and stuff like that, it's a big deal in the Midwest, and there are leagues, and it's like your team, your high school team plays against the other high school team in shotgunning. It's great stuff. So it's limited in certain places. They try to suppress it, but in other places where it's allowed, it blooms. And it's phenomenal for kids because it helps them mature, and it's a social thing, and it helps them with just developing responsibility, a sense of accomplishment. It's that whole thing. Why kids do sports. It's to develop into a good, responsible adult.
It's definitely, I see that benefit, and quite frankly, I remember when my uncle would talk about, like, he would go to elementary school, take his shotgun, put in his cubby, and then finish off, and then when he was done, he'd go turkey hunting right after. Like, it's that culture of training and growing up with firearms that I think is very benefit, and honestly, that's why I think there are some schools now doing like firearm safety training as part of the school curriculum. Like, they need to understand that. So, but yeah, that's actually very interesting on that, and I didn't realize how popular competitive shotguns were.
It's a huge thing. Huge.
Yeah. Huge. Nice.
Huge. That's right.
Well,
you gotta love it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, anytime I hear him like speak, it's just it's wrong. No, it's a stupid question. Moving along, like.
Yeah, it is hilarious.
Oh yeah. So yep. So that is all of the questions I wanted to ask regarding that, and I wanted to thank you for your time and discussing these issues. And again, can you repeat the organization and where they can find a lot of this information? Because again, I want everyone to take their time to listen and read this stuff because it is important.
There's so much on our website, you can't read it all. I'll tell you that right now. Our document archives goes back into the 1990s. So we have, on our blog, we have stuff from a lot. There's stuff that I've written. They've actually published or republished two of the articles that I wrote. One was about an active shooter in the hospital. It's called The Unthinkable, an active shooter in the hospital. I wrote that in our local magazine for our medical society. And then I also wrote for USCCA an article about terrorism against hospitals worldwide. And I wrote that in, I think, 2015. That's also reprinted. So that's some of the stuff that I've written. Plus, there's more that I've written. But there are positions and resources, guns and public health, gun safety, gun research, gun question, EMRs and guns, suppressors and hearing, protective orders and external resources, article archives by a bunch of us, and then there's just document archives. There's media stuff, our blog. It goes on and on and on. We're also on like Facebook. And Rob Young publishes a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of interactive stuff, so you can interact with him. Rob Young is our director. And again, we are part of the Second Amendment Foundation. And if you're interested in becoming a member, you can go to drgo.us and just join. There's a tab for join now. It's like $35, but it's worth it. Especially if you're in the healthcare profession, we would love to have you write articles and it's just a good bunch of folks. I'll just leave it at that. But this is a great resource. It's a great resource.
Yeah, to anyone out there who is a doctor and is pro-gun, I mean, your voice needs to be heard because, like he said, like a good chunk of them are not, and I think that we need to have that out there. Because there need to be good doctors, ones you can actually trust and have your backing and aren't trying to take away your rights.
Absolutely. And we're the good ones.
Yeah, I know, right?
we're the good guys. I will never try to take away your guns, believe me. Never in a million years.
Yep. So you can catch now, this is what we do at the end of the show, known as the GOFU, it's the Gun Owner F-Up. It's a lesson that other people have learned, so anyone listening can learn it without having to pay the price. And this is a lesson that has recently come up. If you are ever, arrested or the cop says you're not free to leave, shut up. Men have died for those rights. Stand on them. Remain silent and ask for your attorney. That is it. If you are arrested, you are arrested. But do not say anything. If the cop goes up to you and says, "Oh, I talked to the other guy, but I want to get your side of the story," you say, "I have nothing to say. Talk to my attorney." That is it. You do not need to give that side of the story. At best, it's neutral and doesn't affect the outcome, and you'll probably still be arrested. At worst, you're hurting yourself, and it's how it goes. And my father always highlights this all the time. Well, Martha Stewart, know what she went to jail for? Wasn't tax evasion, wasn't for taxes, it was for lying to the police. Know how you can avoid lying to the police? Don't say anything. That's how it goes. So with that, thank you to my guests for coming on here. And I am Teddy Knappen, reminding you that gun laws do not protect honest citizens from criminals. They protect criminals from honest citizens.
Gun Lawyer is a Counterthink media production. The music used in this broadcast was managed by Cosmo Music, New York, New York. Reach us by emailing evan@gun.lawyer. The information and opinions in this broadcast do not constitute legal advice. Consult a licensed attorney in your state.